In the heart of England, during the tumultuous years of the Second World War, a young man named Roger Bannister stood at the precipice of greatness, unbeknownst to him and the world around him. The year was 1940, and the shadows of conflict loomed large, casting a pall over the nation. Yet, within this darkness, the spirit of determination flickered like a candle in the night, waiting for the winds of change to fan its flame. Roger was not just any young man, he was an athlete, a dreamer, and most importantly, a believer in the seemingly impossible. From a very young age, he was entranced by the art of running. The rhythmic pounding of his feet against the earth was not merely a physical activity, it was a symphony, a dance with freedom that transcended the boundaries of ordinary existence. Each step he took was a testament to his ambition, a promise to himself that he would achieve greatness, even as the world around him crumbled. In those early days of war, Roger often found solace on the running tracks of Oxford. The university became his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the horrors of the outside world, if only for a short while. Here, beneath the sprawling trees and the bright blue sky, he would lose himself in the cadence of his breath and the rhythm of his heartbeat. Every run was a journey, an exploration of his own limits, and with each mile, he felt himself inch closer to an extraordinary goal, breaking the 4-minute mile. The notion of running a mile in under 4 minutes seemed ludicrous at the time. Many believed it was a physical impossibility, a feat reserved for the gods. Yet, Roger was undeterred. He spent countless hours studying the science of running, dissecting each movement with the precision of a surgeon. His training was rigorous, a mixture of sprinting and endurance, but it was his unwavering focus that set him apart from his peers. He envisioned the moment when he would cross that finish line, the clock reading less than 4 minutes. The thought consumed him. However, the war weighed heavily on the nation. Young men were sent off to fight, and the streets were filled with the haunting echoes of sirens and the distant rumble of aircraft. As the bombs fell and the darkness threatened to engulf the very essence of humanity, Roger's dedication to his craft became even more pronounced. He believed that within the chaos lay an opportunity, the opportunity to inspire hope, to remind people that even in the darkest times, dreams could still be chased. As the war raged on, Bannister continued his training, often running alone in the early morning mist. The dew-kissed grass was cool beneath his feet, and the fresh air filled his lungs like a rush of life. He would visualize himself breaking the barrier, a moment that would change not only his life but the lives of many. He saw himself standing at the starting line, the crowd buzzing with anticipation, and then, in a flash, he would be off, each step a testament to his will, pushing past the pain, the fatigue, the doubts. In the distance, he could hear the faint sounds of combat planes, their engines roaring as they streaked across the sky. It was a grim reminder of the world beyond the track, yet it fueled him. Roger wanted to show the world that even amid such despair, greatness could emerge. His ambition was not just for personal glory, it was a rallying cry for all those who felt lost in the turmoil of war. As time passed, Roger faced countless challenges. He struggled with injuries that threatened to derail his progress, and fatigue often weighed heavily upon him. The pressures of academics at Oxford, combined with the looming specter of enlistment, threatened to overwhelm him. Yet, he persevered, drawing strength from those around him. His coach, a steadfast mentor, believed in Roger's dream, and together they worked tirelessly, devising training regimens that would push the limits of endurance. Then came the winter of 1943, a particularly harsh season that seemed determined to test Roger's resolve. The icy winds cut through him as he ran, but he welcomed the challenge. Each breath, visible in the cold air, was a reminder that he was alive, that he was fighting for something greater than himself. He could not allow the war to steal his dreams. With every mile he conquered, he was not just running, he was laying the groundwork for history. As spring approached and the war continued to rage, whispers of Roger's ambition began to spread. Fellow athletes and enthusiasts began to take notice, intrigued by the young man who dared to challenge the very limits of human capability. His reputation grew, and with it, the weight of expectation. More than ever, he felt the pressure to succeed, to prove that the impossible could indeed be redefined. He knew that if he were to break the 4-minute mile, it would require not only talent but an unyielding spirit and faith in himself. In the summer of 1944, as the world prepared for the Allied invasion of Normandy, Roger stood at the brink of a new chapter. He had been training relentlessly, and whispers of his impending attempt to break the barrier filled the air. The anticipation was palpable among his fellow athletes and supporters. They had witnessed his countless hours of dedication and were ready to rally behind him. But it was not just a race for him, it was a race against time, against despair, and against the notion that limits were unbreakable. On a fateful day, the sun shone down on the track, illuminating Roger as he prepared for what could be the moment that changed everything. He stood at the starting line, heart pounding, mind racing. The cheers of the crowd surged around him, a tidal wave of hope and expectation. As he took a deep breath, he felt the weight of history upon his shoulders. In that moment, he was not just an athlete, he was a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope in a world gripped by fear. As he took his mark, Roger Bannister knew that he was not running just for himself. He was running for all those who dared to dream, for those who believed in the impossible. The gun fired, and with it, he was off, a blur of determination and grit, chasing not just a record but the very essence of what it meant to be human. The impossible lay ahead, and he was ready to conquer it. The war raged on, an unyielding force that seemed intent on shattering hopes and dreams. Yet, for Roger, it was a time of introspection and resolve. He became increasingly aware of the stark contrast between the chaos of the world and the peace he found in his running. As the sounds of distant bombings echoed through the air, Roger found a sanctuary in the rhythmic pounding of his feet, a reminder that life continued, even amidst devastation. His home, a modest dwelling on the outskirts of London, was filled with the tension that gripped the nation. His family, like many others, faced the struggles of rationing and uncertainty. Food supplies were dwindling, and the specter of loss hung heavy in the air. Still, Roger found solace in the simplicity of his running shoes, the fabric worn from countless journeys along the tracks. Each mile he ran became a rebellion against the despair that sought to engulf him. Despite the chaos, news of his athletic prowess began to spread. In the local circles, whispers of the young man with a dream began to circulate. He was not just a runner, he was a symbol of perseverance. Coaches noticed his unwavering spirit and dedication, often commenting on the way he pushed beyond his limits, defying the norms of what was considered possible. Though the war threatened to consume all joy, Roger's every stride carried with it a flicker of hope, a promise that greatness could still emerge from the ashes of conflict. As spring approached in 1941, Roger's training intensified. He began to rise before dawn, sneaking out of his home while the rest of the world still slumbered. The early morning air was crisp, filled with the fragrant scent of dew on grass. He would run along the empty streets of Oxford, his breath forming clouds in the cool air. Each step echoed like a drumbeat of determination in his mind. He felt the weight of his aspirations pressing down on him, but it only fueled his desire to challenge himself further. In these quiet moments, Roger often visualized the day he would break the 4-minute mile. He pictured himself standing at the starting line, the sun casting long shadows on the track. The sound of the starter's pistol would pierce the air, and he would surge forward, propelled by sheer willpower. He imagined the crowd roaring as he crossed the finish line, a triumphant symbol of what could be achieved against all odds. But for now, those were mere daydreams, fragments of a reality he was determined to sculpt. One fateful day, while practicing on a local track, Roger caught the eye of a retired athlete named Sir Arthur Gold. Sir Arthur had witnessed the evolution of athletics over the years and recognized the flame that burned within Roger. The two struck up a conversation, and Roger shared his goal of breaking the 4-minute barrier. Sir Arthur, with his wealth of experience, became a mentor to Roger. He offered guidance, imparting the wisdom he had accumulated from years of training and competing. Under Sir Arthur's watchful eye, Roger refined his technique. They worked tirelessly, focusing on every aspect of running, from breathing patterns to stride length. The retired athlete emphasized the importance of mental strength, teaching Roger to visualize success and harness the power of belief. With each session, Roger felt himself growing stronger, not just physically, but mentally as well. He learned to silence the doubts that whispered in his mind, those insidious voices that echoed the skepticism of those who claimed the 4-minute mile was unattainable. As the months slipped into years, the war continued to rage, but Roger's determination remained unwavering. He began to compete in local races, each event drawing larger crowds, eager to witness the young man's relentless pursuit of the impossible. With every race he ran, he not only improved his time but also inspired those around him. The spirit of the nation was weary, but Roger's ambition reignited a flicker of hope among the people, a reminder that the human spirit could soar above the darkest of times. In 1943, Roger's reputation grew as he began to dominate the field. Each victory was met with cheers and applause, a distraction from the grim reality of war. He was becoming a hero in his own right, capturing the hearts of many who yearned for tales of triumph. His runs became legendary, each one a testament to resilience, a reminder that even amidst destruction, life could still flourish. Yet, as the war dragged on, the toll it took on the nation weighed heavily on him. Friends enlisted, some never to return, and the fabric of society was being torn apart. Roger grappled with the internal conflict of wanting to serve his country and his ambition to become the first man to break the 4-minute barrier. The weight of his dream pressed down on him, but he found himself increasingly drawn to the idea that perhaps his running could be a way to uplift and inspire a weary populace, a beacon of hope in dark times. One evening, as he jogged through the twilight, a thought struck him. What if he could use his platform to raise morale, to give people something to believe in? The more he pondered, the more he felt a sense of purpose. He began to envision not merely running for himself but running for a cause greater than his own ambitions. His quest to break the 4-minute mile was now intertwined with an unwavering desire to represent the unbreakable spirit of his nation. With renewed vigor, Roger threw himself into his training. The war had taught him that fortitude was not just physical, it was about the human spirit's ability to endure and rise above challenges. He was not just an athlete, he was a symbol of hope in an era of despair. And as he ran, he felt the weight of his country's dreams on his shoulders, a burden he was ready to carry. As the dawn of a new year approached, Roger was determined more than ever to achieve his goal, not just for himself, but for all those who believed in the impossible. The world was watching, and he was ready to show everyone that limits were meant to be broken. With every stride, he was not just chasing a dream, he was redefining what it meant to be human in a time of war. As the first light of 1944 broke through the horizon, Roger Bannister was prepared to step into the pages of history. Little did he know, the journey ahead would challenge everything he believed in and push the boundaries of human potential further than anyone ever imagined. And in those moments, he was not merely running, he was forging a legacy, a testament to the unwavering human spirit. If you wish to join us on this journey through time and inspiration, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Let us explore the tales of those who dared to dream and broke the boundaries of the impossible together. As Roger trained tirelessly, the world outside was engulfed in chaos. The war raged on, and the lives of millions were forever altered. Yet, within the confines of Oxford, Roger found a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. He often thought about how his passion for running could serve as a beacon of resilience for others. As air raids and rationing became a grim reality, he was determined to rise above the turmoil, channeling his energy into a singular pursuit. His training sessions often drew the attention of fellow students and professors, who watched in awe as he pushed himself further each day. It was not merely the speed that captivated them but the sheer force of will that emanated from him like an invisible aura. They began to rally around him, inspired by his ambition, and their quiet encouragement stoked the fires of his resolve. Roger was not just running for himself, he was running for the hope of a brighter future, for a time when the war would end and life would return to a sense of normalcy. In the spring of 1943, 2 years into the war, Roger's efforts began to bear fruit. He had officially entered the ranks of competitive athletes, participating in regional races that garnered attention from various university teams. With every race, he edged closer to his goal. Each victory fueled his desire, but it also increased the pressure he felt. The whispers of the 4-minute mile grew louder, echoing in his mind like the distant sound of marching soldiers. One afternoon, as he trained on the track, a gentle breeze swirled around him, carrying with it the scent of freshly cut grass and the distant sounds of laughter. He pushed himself harder, desiring to capture that fleeting feeling of freedom. The sun bathed the track in golden light, illuminating the path he was destined to run. As he rounded the final lap, he could hear the faint cheers of those who had gathered to watch. It was a mix of friends, faculty, and even some recruits on leave, their faces a blend of admiration and hope. In that moment, he felt a surge of emotion. He was not just racing against time but against the burdens the war imposed on every individual present. Yet doubts began to creep into his mind. The war had taken so many strong souls, and with each passing day, he wondered if chasing this elusive dream was worth the toll it could take. But deep within his heart, he knew that he had to keep running, to keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible. One evening, exhausted after a particularly grueling training session, Roger sat in the quiet of his room, staring at the walls that seemed to close in on him. The shadows danced in the dim light, and he felt a profound sense of loneliness despite having friends who believed in him. It was during these moments of solitude that he often turned to his studies, seeking solace in the world of medicine that captivated him as much as running did. He understood that the human body was an incredible mechanism, capable of extraordinary feats when pushed to its limits. In the summer of 1944, an announcement came that would change everything. The university was organizing an inter-university athletics meet, and athletes from across the country would gather to compete. It was the perfect opportunity to showcase his skills, but the pressure mounted. As he watched the news of the war unfold, with stories of valiant soldiers and shattered families, he yearned to rise above it all, to symbolize hope and perseverance. The 4-minute mile became more than just a personal goal, it became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit amidst adversity. As the day of the meet approached, Roger's training intensified. He meticulously studied each competitor, assessing their strengths and weaknesses. He visualized the race day, imagining every stride, every breath as he fought against the ticking clock. He was determined to break the myth that had held so many back. On the morning of the meet, a tangible buzz enveloped the atmosphere as athletes gathered, their uniforms immaculate and their spirits high. The crowd, a mix of students, families, and military personnel, filled the stands, creating a vibrant tapestry of faces eager for hope. Roger stood at the starting line, heart racing, mind focused. He stole a glance at the other competitors, their muscles taut and ready, but he felt no fear, only the thrill of the chase. With the crack of the starting pistol, he surged forward, his legs moving with a fluidity that felt almost otherworldly. The cheers from the crowd faded away, replaced by the rhythmic thud of his heart and the pounding of his feet against the track. Each lap marked a fight against his inner doubts and the time that seemed to mock him. He focused on his breathing, maintaining a pace that felt both exhilarating and torturous. As he rounded the final bend, the finish line came into view, and he felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. Time slowed as he closed the gap, his muscles burning with exhaustion yet fueled by an unyielding spirit. He glanced at the clock, his heart pounding with hope. As he crossed the finish line, the world around him erupted in a cacophony of cheers, but all he could hear was his own breath and the sound of victory ringing in his ears. In that moment, Roger knew he had broken not just the physical barrier of the 4-minute mile, but also the mental chains that had bound so many before him. As he collapsed onto the track, gasping for breath, he felt the warmth of victory wash over him like sunlight breaking through a storm. Roger Bannister had redefined the impossible, a beacon of hope shining brightly in a world overshadowed by war. He had shown that with determination and belief, one could transcend their limits. This was not merely a victory for him, but for all those who dared to dream and run towards a brighter future. As the dust settled on that historic day, Roger understood the importance of sharing his journey. He knew that the spirit of perseverance could inspire many to rise above their challenges. So, he began to speak publicly about his experiences, urging others to believe in their dreams, no matter how unattainable they might seem. And as he inspired countless souls, remember to subscribe to our channel, where you can witness the unfolding stories of remarkable individuals like Roger Bannister, who dared to challenge the limits of humanity amidst the backdrop of history. Together, we will celebrate acts of courage and resilience that remind us all that no goal is truly beyond reach. NTS, Roger could almost forget the turmoil outside his doorstep. The war, with its relentless grip on the nation, faded into the background, leaving only the sound of his heart beating in time with the rhythm of his feet. He found clarity in these moments, a quiet sanctuary where he could envision the finish lines of races yet to come, the accolades waiting to be claimed, and the dreams that seemed to shimmer just beyond his reach. As he ran, Roger often pondered the stories of those who had come before him, athletes who had defied the odds in their own ways. He thought of the legends of his country, of those who had triumphed against adversity, and he felt a kinship with them. Each morning, he absorbed their strength, allowing it to course through his veins as he pushed his body further, faster. One particular day stood out among the rest. The sun had risen higher, casting a golden hue over the city, its warm rays breaking through the clouds. Roger had decided to run a longer distance than usual, some 10 miles, navigating through the outskirts of Oxford. As he crossed familiar landmarks, he imagined crowds lining the streets, cheering him on, their voices rising above the din of war. He pushed onward, the rhythm of his breath syncing with the beat of his heart, a symphony of hope playing against the backdrop of despair. It was during this run that he encountered a group of children playing in a park. They were oblivious to the conflict that had altered the lives of their families. Their laughter rang like bells in the air, pure and untainted. Roger slowed his pace, watching them play, their carefree spirits reminding him of a world untouched by fear. In that moment, he realized the power of his own aspirations. It wasn't just about breaking records, it was about inspiring others, giving them a glimmer of hope amid uncertainty. "Hey, mister," a little boy shouted, pointing at Roger's worn running shoes. "Are you a runner? Can you run faster than the planes?" Roger smiled, the child's innocence cutting through the haze of his worries. "I can certainly try," he replied, feeling a surge of energy as the children gathered around him, their eyes gleaming with excitement. "Maybe one day you'll all be runners too, and you can run far, far away from here." That exchange lingered in his mind long after he had returned home, the warmth of their enthusiasm fueling his resolve. He understood that his journey was not just his own. It was intertwined with the hopes of a generation longing for a brighter future. In the days that followed, he poured himself into his training more than ever. His feet danced over the track, each stride a testament to his unwavering commitment to rise above the tribulations of the present. As summer approached, the atmosphere in England began to shift. The war was still a harsh reality, yet the spirit of the people remained unbroken. Roger was invited to join a local athletic club, a place where his talent could flourish among fellow runners. It was here that he met his coach, a former Olympian who had seen the world turn upside down but still believed in the possibility of triumph through sport. Under this new guidance, Roger honed his skills, learning techniques that would help him run faster and more efficiently. His training sessions became more rigorous, filled with drills and sprints that challenged every fiber of his being. With each passing day, the sense of camaraderie within the club grew, and he found himself surrounded by individuals who shared his passion and desire to overcome. Together, they shared stories of their lives before the war, dreams of the future, and the unyielding hope that kept them lacing up their shoes, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Despite the growing camaraderie, the reality of the war was never far from their minds. The sounds of distant bombers became a constant reminder of the world outside their sanctuary. Yet in the face of this adversity, Roger discovered an unbreakable bond with his fellow athletes. They became more than just teammates, they were brothers and sisters united in a common purpose. They trained hard, pushed each other to their limits, and celebrated the small victories that came from their collective effort. As the months rolled on, Roger began to set his sights on a competition that would take place later that year. It was a local event, but for him, it represented far more than just a race. It was an opportunity to showcase the fruits of his labor, to embody the dreams of those who had rallied around him, and to offer a moment of escape from the harsh realities of war. The thought of standing at the starting line, surrounded by fellow competitors, filled him with a sense of purpose that seemed to shine brighter than the shadows of despair. On the day of the race, a palpable sense of excitement filled the air. Spectators gathered, their faces a mix of anticipation and hope. Roger felt the energy wash over him as he stood among his fellow runners, each of them a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As the starting gun fired, he took off, his heart racing with the rhythm of his strides. With every lap, he felt the weight of the world lift, the cheers of the crowd merging with the sound of his heartbeat. He pushed through the fatigue, fueled by the faces of those who believed in him. He was not merely running for himself, he was running for every child dreaming of a brighter tomorrow, every family yearning for peace. As he crossed the finish line, an overwhelming wave of emotion surged through him. He had not only completed the race, he had transcended the limits he had once thought impossible. In that moment, he became more than just an athlete, he became a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the human spirit could soar. The applause echoed in his ears, drowning out the distant sounds of war, and for a brief, shining moment, Roger Bannister was not just a runner, he was a symbol of resilience, a testament to the enduring power of dreams. As he stood there, breathless and exhilarated, he realized that this was just the beginning. If you found inspiration in Roger's journey, if the story of perseverance amid adversity resonates with you, consider subscribing to our channel. Join us as we explore more stories that celebrate the indomitable human spirit during times of trial. Together, let's remember that hope can be a powerful force for change. As he rounded the final lap, he could hear the faint cheers of those who had gathered to watch. It was a mix of friends, faculty, and even some recruits on leave, their faces illuminated with admiration and respect. Roger's heart raced, not just from the exertion of running, but from the collective energy of those who believed in him. With each stride, he was not just racing against the clock, he was racing against despair, against the shadows of the war that loomed ever closer. The sound of their encouragement washed over him like a wave, invigorating his spirit. He felt their hopes intertwine with his own, propelling him forward. The track was more than just a circle of dirt and cinders, it was a stage where he could rewrite his story, a canvas on which he could paint a masterpiece of grit and determination. The world outside may have been tumultuous, but within that moment, he was in a realm of possibility, where the boundaries of human endurance could be pushed and stretched. As he crossed the finish line, Roger was met with a roar of approval. He glanced back at the clock and saw numbers that sent a thrill through him. He was getting closer to that elusive 4-minute mile. The cheers continued, and he raised his arms in triumph, not just for himself, but for everyone who dared to dream amid the chaos. Each race became a testament to the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, one could find light. Days turned into weeks, and the trials of war continued to cast a long shadow over life in Oxford. Rationing was hitting hard, and conversations among students increasingly turned to the challenges of missing loved ones and the uncertainty of the future. Despite this, Roger found solace in the routine of training. He would rise before dawn, lace up his shoes, and head to the track under the soft glow of morning light. It was in these quiet hours that he felt most alive, his fears swept away by the rhythm of his feet on the track. The war news often filled the airwaves, bringing reports of battles fought and lives lost, but Roger refused to let this drown out his dreams. He was preparing for the British Championships, an event that could serve as the launching pad for his quest to break the 4-minute mile. The pressure was immense, he could feel it weighing on him like a heavy cloak. Yet, with each passing day, he grew more resolute. He would not be defined by the war, but rather by his ability to transcend it. In the midst of all this, he found an unexpected ally in his coach, a veteran who had witnessed the ravages of war firsthand. Coach Smith understood the stakes, the weight of the moment, and he pushed Roger harder than ever, guiding him with a steady hand. "You have the potential to change how people think, Roger," he would say, his voice firm yet encouraging. "Each time you run, it's not just about the race, it's about inspiring hope." The words took root in Roger's heart, and he began to imagine the impact of his achievement. What would it mean for the people back home, for those who had been affected by the war? Could he serve as a symbol of resilience, a reminder that they could endure and rise above? These thoughts fueled his training sessions, and he ran with renewed vigor, his mind fixed on the ultimate goal. Finally, the day of the British Championships arrived. It was a crisp afternoon as the sun fought through a layer of clouds, casting a soft glow on the eager crowd that had gathered. Athletes from across the nation were there, all vying for the title and the chance to be remembered in history. As Roger stood at the starting line, he could feel the weight of their ambitions colliding with his own. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation and anxiety, a palpable energy that electrified the air. As the gun fired, Roger surged forward, his legs propelling him into a rhythm that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. He quickly settled into his pace, the world around him fading into a blur. His focus narrowed to the track ahead, the sound of his breath mingling with the pounding of his heart. He had trained for this moment, and every ounce of his being was dedicated to achieving what seemed impossible. Lap after lap, he maintained a steady pace, feeling the pressure of the other runners close behind him. The cheers from the crowd grew louder, urging him on, creating a symphony of sound that echoed in his ears. He could almost hear the whispers of his friends back at Oxford, their encouragement lifting him higher with every step. The thought of their pride fueled his resolve. This was not just a race, it was a battle against doubt, against fear, against everything that sought to hold him back. As he rounded the final turn, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him. He could see the finish line ahead, and it beckoned him like a lighthouse in a storm. His legs burned, but he pushed through the pain, driven by a vision of crossing that line not just as a competitor, but as a victor. The crowd erupted in a deafening roar as he launched himself forward, pouring every ounce of energy he had left into those final strides. With a last push, he crossed the finish line, collapsing onto the track, gasping for breath. The clock ticked on, and as he lay there, the realization hit him like a wave. He had done it. He had run the race of his life. As the results began to filter through the crowd, there was a tense silence before a cheer erupted. The time flashed before his eyes, and disbelief washed over him. He had not only finished but had achieved something few would ever dream of. The time was under 4 minutes. In that moment, Roger Bannister became more than just an athlete, he became a symbol of hope, a reminder that within the darkness of war, there existed a flicker of possibility. His journey had just begun, but the path ahead was forever altered. As he caught his breath and took in the jubilant crowd, he knew that this was not just his victory, it was a shared triumph for all those who dared to dream. And as the echoes of celebration filled the air, Roger understood that every step he took was a step toward a brighter future. If you find inspiration in Roger's journey, consider subscribing to our channel. Together, we can explore the triumphs and trials of those who shaped our history. Join us as we uncover more stories that speak to the resilience of the human spirit. Roger smiled at the boy, his heart warmed by the innocence behind the question. "I can try," he replied, his voice steady and encouraging. The boy's eyes lit up, filled with admiration and excitement. In that moment, Roger understood a deeper truth. His running was not just a pursuit of personal glory but a beacon of hope for others, especially the youth who found joy in fleeting moments amid the shadows of war. As he resumed his run, the laughter of the children echoed in his ears, pushing him to sprint faster. Each stride felt like a small rebellion against the chaos that enveloped the world around him. His thoughts danced between the battlefield realities that soldiers faced daily and the dreams that thrived in the hearts of those like him, who dared to push boundaries. Days turned into weeks, and Roger continued to run, each mile a testament to his resilience. With every passing moment, he became more determined to break the barrier that had eluded athletes for centuries, the 4-minute mile. To him, it became a symbol of defiance against the dark tide of despair. If he could achieve the impossible, perhaps he could inspire others to do the same, reminding them of the strength that lay within. During a particularly cold evening at the university, Roger gathered with his fellow athletes to discuss their training. The air was thick with anticipation, the camaraderie brightening the dullness of the war's aftermath. They spoke of their dreams, of races they wished to conquer, and the records they wanted to break. Roger listened intently, feeling the collective energy fill the room. He knew that they, too, were bound by the same spirit of hope, fighting against the darkness that seemed all too eager to consume them. Roger, one of his friends, a sprinter named Tom, said, "What if we could all run together? Not just as competitors, but as a team? We could push each other to be better." The idea resonated within Roger. He envisioned a team not just racing for their personal bests but running for a cause larger than themselves. They could represent resilience, unity, and the indomitable human spirit. "I believe we can do it," he replied, feeling the fire ignite within. "If we can inspire others to join us, just imagine the impact we could have." With renewed determination, Roger rallied his teammates. They began training rigorously, not merely for themselves, but for the children who had cheered him on, for the soldiers whose courage they admired, and for the families torn apart by the war. They trained under the harsh Oxford skies, pushing their limits with each passing day. As the fateful date approached for their record-breaking attempt, doubt crept into Roger's mind. What if he failed? What if the war continued to take its toll, extinguishing the dreams they had built? But each time he felt that shadow creeping in, he thought of the laughter of the children, their unwavering spirit. He envisioned their faces, hopeful and expectant, and that brought him back to clarity. On the day of the race, the atmosphere was electric. The air was filled with an energy that transcended the heaviness of war. Spectators gathered, their faces a mix of eagerness and anxiety, hoping for a glimpse of history in the making. Roger stood at the starting line, his heart pounding, every beat resonating with purpose. He took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp air, letting it fill his lungs as he focused on what lay ahead. As the race began, Roger felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. He took off, each stride propelling him not just forward but into the annals of history. The cheers of the crowd faded, replaced by the sound of his breath and the rhythm of his feet pounding the track. He could feel the energy of his teammates beside him, each of them pushing themselves just as hard, each of them striving for something more significant than themselves. As he reached the final lap, pain seeped into his legs, but it was the thought of the children, the soldiers, and the dreams of a brighter future that propelled him forward. With every ounce of strength he could muster, he sprinted. The finish line loomed ahead, a barrier that had once felt insurmountable. Roger focused on that line, imagining breaking through it, not just as an athlete but as a symbol of hope. In those final moments, he surged ahead, crossing the finish line with a time of 3 minutes and 59 seconds. The crowd erupted in jubilant cheers, a sound that washed over him like a wave, drowning out the horrors of war for just a moment. He had done it. Against all odds, he had broken the 4-minute mile. As he collapsed onto the track, breathless and exhausted, Roger felt a rush of emotions flooding through him. He had not just achieved a personal victory, he had rekindled a sense of hope in a world that desperately needed it. As he looked into the crowd, he spotted the same boy from the park, his face alight with joy, and in that instant, Roger knew his journey had just begun. The war would continue to rage on, but he had found his purpose. He now had the power to inspire others to believe in the impossible. With every step he took from that day forward, he would carry the dreams of those who looked up to him, fueling his passion for both running and life itself. If you found Roger Bannister's journey inspiring, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that celebrate the human spirit and its ability to overcome even the most daunting challenges. Join us as we continue to explore the remarkable tales from history that remind us all to strive for greatness, no matter the odds.